The big sell is irresistible, a glossy appeal to vanity, and it works. From tummy tucks to Brazilian butt lifts, Australians fork out more than $1 billion a year on cosmetic surgery.
I feel like all these professional photos is what I got sucked in by.
But wanting to look younger, thinner, better doesn't always go to plan.
Anyone with a basic medical degree can call themselves a cosmetic surgeon.
3 surgeons are operating here. I'm doing lithosculpture.
You wouldn't know it from their social media accounts, but these doctors aren't specialist surgeons.
What's happening while the patient is asleep?
Don't look now if you don't like gore.
It's staggering, but loopholes in the law allow them to perform major operations with little surgical training.
Let's have a look. Whilst he's still on the table, obviously he's lying flat in this position, but we've sculpted his chest.
They beguile patients into believing that they have the necessary surgical skill to perform their procedures, and when something goes wrong, they are simply discharged off to the nearest emergency department.
The truth is, weak regulations and a business model that puts profit before patients is leaving a trail of botched and maimed bodies.
This is bordering on being barbaric. This is not what we demand of people performing surgery in Australia.
Tonight, in a joint investigation with the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age, 60 Minutes exposes the dark side of the booming cosmetic surgery industry, where patients are seduced into body-modifying surgery by celebrity doctors and cleverly staged before and after photos on social media.
You're only seeing the best of the best on their Instagram pages. You're not seeing the women who have had scar tissue that have to keep going back to get things fixed. You're not seeing that.
Patients who do speak up are crushed into silence when it all goes wrong.
They don't get to just do that to me. They don't get to just destroy my life and think that they get away with it. It's not fair.
There should be little doubt how dangerous cosmetic surgery can be. 6 months ago, I uncovered shocking proof of alarming practices in the clinics of celebrity dermatologist turned cosmetic surgeon Daniel Lanza. Behind the doors of his clinics, it included bizarre footage of doctors dancing while thrusting long stainless steel cannulas into an unconscious male patient. Worst of all, a culture of never admitting when things go horribly wrong.
Never, ever, ever, not slightly, ever, 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 ever admit to a patient that something's bad or wrong. They'll use it against you 100 times the rest of your life. Never, ever, ever, ever own up to anything.
For Daniel Lanza, the fallout of being found out was swift. He was furious.
There's a well-known journalist, her name is Adele Ferguson. She thinks there's something she has to do to stop Dr. Lanza, but unfortunately, she did the wrong thing. It's a sad story. This is the saddest day of my life.
But things were about to get a whole lot worse for Daniel Lanza. He surrendered his medical registration and headed for Israel, living in this penthouse. Other doctors working alongside him had a few regulatory slaps.
But it's still going on. People still don't realise that even if they're going to other cosmetic surgery clinics, that it's the standard of care is still not up to board because there's no regulations.
Registered nurses Lauren Hewish and Justin Nixon used to work for Daniel Lanza and saw too much. What angers them now is that little has changed.
I thought there would be massive changes. It's been 6 months since this has all really come to light, but there really hasn't been anything.
We're still seeing the same sorts of behaviour still going on, and it's like the doctors seem indifferent to what's been said and they don't seem to care.
Tonight, they want to tell how one doctor avoided scrutiny, despite being in the thick of it all. His name is Dr. Ryan Wells.
He was Dr. Lanza's associate. He was the person doing the bulk of the work at the Lanza clinic. He was Dr. Lanza's workhorse.
When Lauren and Justin finally resigned, he went into damage control.
He said, be careful who you talk to because it's our life at stake. Don't talk anything about the clinic. Don't say anything about your experience at the clinic because if it comes out, we're all done for.
That's very much the culture, don't dog us. But, when I really went away and thought about it, the dog act is not speaking up for the patients and the victims and the people that are harmed.
After assisting Dr. Wells on hundreds of procedures and consultations, they've decided to speak out.
His practice puts the public at risk, and yet, the regulators have failed to act quickly.
Dr. Wells joined the Lanza clinics with a basic medical degree and limited surgical experience.
First case of the week, a mega liposuction. Let's have a look at a before shot.
Within months, he was spruiking on social media major procedures such as mega liposuction, tummy tucks, and mini facelifts.
Once again, didn't like this bulge and droopy skin down through her neck.
As he started earning the big bucks, he began flaunting his lavish lifestyle on his social media accounts.
Lanza's taught him everything that he knows. Money was the bottom line for all of the doctors. It was not in the interests of the patients.
Back then, Dr. Wells distanced himself publicly from the Lanza fallout.
Excellence is and always has been our standard. I want to reiterate my complete dissociation from Dr. Lanza and his company.
In an email he sent me, Dr. Wells goes even further.
I operate and manage the Brisbane practice. Within the unit, no compromises have ever been taken with regards to patient safety.
Yet at the same time, he was telling staff something completely different about the media coverage.
I think it was weak. Danny might cop some shit, but feel we didn't even get a show up here. It'll all be okay.
But all is not okay at Dr. Wells' clinics.
As much as Dr. Wells can say that he has separated himself and has better standards and that the clinics run completely differently, I think that's a joke.
Yeah.
It's not only former colleagues bravely speaking up. Patient Kathy Hubble wants everyone to know about her experience with Dr. Wells.
This man is absolutely dangerous to the public. He was directly responsible for the procedure on my abdomen, which has now left me with chronic pain and a tissue that is hard and rubbery and loss of feeling in those areas as well.
In November 2018, Kathy was booked in to have liposuction on her abdomen by Dr. Wells. It was 2 days after undergoing liposuction on her legs by Dr. Lanza. Having already paid in full, she felt unable to back out.
Once you've paid a huge amount of money and you're invested in a procedure that you think is going to help you, you can't turn back.
So you're in too deep?
Absolutely.
Despite being in excruciating pain, she was sent straight home.
The next day, I was at the point where I couldn't stand, I couldn't sit, I couldn't lie down, I couldn't move, I couldn't roll over, and I was in so much pain that I was actually vomiting. And my partner then drove me to the hospital, and they said I was actually in septic shock and had cellulitis from knee to navel.
And did they say what caused it?
Well, they knew that it was from the procedure, that it was a dirty procedure.
Almost 4 years later, the former theatre nurse is still in chronic pain.
It interferes with every part of my life, every relationship, you know, intimacy, everything.
Not 10 litres, 10 litres!
The fact that he is trying to separate himself from the practices of Dr. Lanza is absolutely frightening. This man is absolutely dangerous to the public.
Kathy Hubble isn't the only person saying it. 60 Minutes is aware of other unhappy patients of Dr. Wells. But they can't speak publicly after signing gag orders in return for refunds after their operations. Others have joined a class action. This woman had mega liposuction on her thighs by Dr. Wells in November 2020. On his Instagram, he posted this before and after video.
But let's have a look while she's still on the table, and now have a look. She's obviously lying flat on her back, but we sculpted all that fat out.
But this is what she actually looks like. She told 60 Minutes she feels hopeless and trapped in a deformed body. Patient stories aren't the only way to find out what really happens inside Dr. Wells' clinics.
Unbelievable.
We've also obtained thousands of internal messages and videos, and the contents are shocking.
That is the most grotesque thing I think I've ever seen in my entire life.
In the world of cosmetic surgery, social media drives business. For most patients, Instagram and TikTok posts are the easiest way to judge a doctor's so-called results. Dr. Ryan Wells is a leading cosmetic surgeon with thousands of followers on Instagram. But there's a lot his followers and his patients haven't seen until now.
60 liposuction, and then we're doing a fat transfer to breast.
This is just bewildering.
We've obtained thousands of leaked messages and videos that show what really happens behind closed doors at Dr. Wells' clinics.
Unbelievable.
Plastic surgeon Mark Ashton is the Professor of Surgery at the University of Melbourne. We showed him some of the disturbing scenes featuring Dr. Wells. This video was filmed while the patient was unconscious and naked.
What was he hitting? A fly? In the operating theatre? Yes. An operating theatre is meant to be an isolated, protected area. It means it minimises the risk of infection. The fact that there is a fly in the operating theatre means that that system has broken down. The patient was left completely naked with no covering at all whilst he used the blanket to attack the fly. We have known in the last 10 to 15 years that one of the most important, critically adjustable factors in preventing infection after surgery is keeping a patient warm.
We've done 3 mega liposuctions and
Unhygienic operating theatres are just the start. On Instagram and TikTok, Dr. Wells made a name for himself doing mega liposuction, an industry term for removing more than 5 litres of fat and fluid in a single procedure.
We know, and it's been scientifically proven, that trying to perform mega liposuction, that is liposuction of more than 5 litres in a single sitting as a day patient, that is where the patient goes home at the end of the procedure, is incredibly dangerous.
Here, Dr. Wells is boasting to his followers about how much fat he can take out in a single day.
Guess how many litres of fat we took? 10 litres of fat. Guess how much fat we took out? 9 litres. 13 litres of fat. 32 litres of fat in total. I'm stuffed.
It's this macabre, macho sort of parading as trying to outdo each other. 32 litres in 3 patients is well beyond what the worldwide literature would suggest is the maximum amount of fat that should be taken out of patients.
There's also another type of liposuction Dr. Wells performs, but you'll never see it on social media.
Okay? Doing really well.
In this video shared on WhatsApp between Dr. Wells and his nurses in October last year, a woman is getting fat manually squeezed from her legs. She's awake, but thankfully she can't see the bloody mess spraying around her.
Go try to aim in the same spot, come on.
Adele, that was... Jesus, where did you get that from? Unbelievable. That is the most grotesque thing I think I've ever seen in my entire life. Yeah. Where to start? Lack of sterility, lack of infection control, biohazards. We have contaminated blood and fats being sprayed all over the operating theatre. The gentleman is wearing normal runners with inadequate protection for himself and his staff. There's no facility in which to contain or entrap the biological material which is being forcibly evacuated from the leg. The procedure is being performed whilst the patient is awake. There is so many things wrong with this scene. I just do not know where to begin. How?
It would be very difficult to clean, I would imagine.
You can't clean that. To get that material off the wall, you need to do what we call a deep clean. That's about a 2-hour process. It means, therefore, that every patient coming in from now on is put at risk by the behaviour of these individuals.
Yeah, it's reminiscent of an abattoir, really. And we would be expected at the Lanza clinics to clean this mess up in under 15 minutes to have another patient through.
Registered nurses, Justin Nixon and Lauren Hewish, say they worked on hundreds of procedures with Dr. Wells. They say they were only ever given 10 to 15 minutes, never 2 hours, to clean up the room after a procedure.
There'd be plenty of times later in the day when people would say, "What's that on the wall?" And there'd be specks of fat and tissue that had been flung around the theatre. It was, not up to standard, filthy,
It would be just a quick little wipe down with a tuffy on the bed, a quick little mop of the floor, and all the dirty instruments would be chucked into the staff room in a bucket with all the dirty linen right next to it, mixed with all the luggage of the clean instruments.
It gets worse. From 2019, Dr. Wells regularly performed surgeries on the first floor of this commercial office building in Spring Hill, Brisbane. Justin Nixon worked beside him in this makeshift theatre.
When patients would arrive on the day, they'd often be horrified to find out there was no special room, there was no dedicated theatre. And they'd say, "Is this it? We're going to operate here." And the doctors would say, "Yep, take off your clothes. We're going to do the surgery in this room here." They didn't feel like they could leave. They had no other choice. Yep.
This is the before image.
This video shows Dr. Wells performing a breast reduction involving surgical incisions to remove breast tissue on a male patient. It's in the Spring Hill office, which isn't a registered day hospital.
Very small, very little fat.
In Queensland, if you do a breast reduction, it must be done in a registered day facility.
Dr. Margaret Foe has spent 40 years researching the health system. She believes the surgery conducted at the unlicensed Spring Hill Clinic was potentially an illegal operation.
Breast reduction, or anything around a breast reduction like a partial mastectomy, which is basically what it is, has to be done in a registered healthcare facility. And if you're telling me that was not a registered healthcare facility, then it appears that that was illegal.
As well as shocking practices, it seems Dr. Wells and his staff are caught up in a secret scheme to dupe the regulator. In leaked internal WhatsApp messages from last year, a senior nurse tells staff to backdate paperwork before an audit.
Please have a look around the hospital for all checklists. They all need to be backdated to March 2020.
Backdating, you know, it points to the issue of patient safety. And what you showed me was just like flagrant disregard for obligations under those standards. I mean, they were falsifying records. And so you can't be going back and making up dates because you risk patient safety.
Dr. Wells' team was also asked by a senior nurse on WhatsApp to hide certain chemicals and equipment in an attic ahead of an upcoming audit.
All old owner instruments need to be moved to attic. Fat TF canisters and equipment need to be hidden in attic.
Another message suggests staff were reusing disposable equipment.
All disposable forceps, suture packs need to be thrown out if they were sterilised.
That was a heart-stop moment for me as I was reading. I read it again and it said disposable instruments and packs should be thrown out, not re-sterilised.
Why was that a heart-stop moment?
I thought, are they re-sterilising single-use instruments? Because if they are, that is unforgivable. That is as disgusting as washing a Band-Aid so that you can use it again. Right? That is not what single-use disposable instruments are intended for. If that is what was happening there, I found that unconscionable, unforgivable.
Despite Dr. Wells' best efforts to publicly distance himself from Daniel Lanza, we've discovered they're still in business together. 60 Minutes can reveal the property of his Gold Coast clinic is jointly owned by Dr. Wells and Daniel Lanza. And in Brisbane, Lanza also owns Dr. Wells' Queensland Day Hospital.
The clinic is owned by Dr. Lanza. He's always going to have a say in what happens.
Look at this fat, how pure this fat is. This is the fat that's going to be now injected into her breast.
The cosmetic surgery industry would have you believe the Lanza clinics were cowboy operators in an otherwise professional industry.
Ryan's doing a mini tummy tuck.
But as you're about to see, the problems are industry-wide and it's out of control.
If you want to see what's wrong with the cosmetic industry, there it is.
In the ultra-competitive business of cosmetic surgery, it's important to stand out. At Cosmos Clinic, operating theatres are used as performance spaces.
I never really knew that you could dance like this. She make a man want to speak Spanish.
And doctors pose for the camera wearing buttman hats while performing risky surgeries. It's earned them almost 500,000 followers on Instagram and TikTok.
Why did you get into this as a business?
There are also regular appearances on TV.
Fuck, I look good on TV. This is why I decided to start up my own clinic.
And who's coming into your surgery to get this sort of work done?
Cosmos and its doctors are striving to be everywhere.
Hey guys, I've got some exciting news. It's been a long time coming, but we've finally done it. We've put all the pieces together, we found the right doctor and the right location, and we're coming straight to you.
In October 2019, Cosmos announced it was opening a new cosmetic surgery clinic in Hawthorne, Melbourne. Founder Dr. Joseph Ajaka used Instagram to reveal the doctor of choice to lead the Victorian business.
We had to find the perfect fit for Cosmos, and this man is the perfect fit for Cosmos. With great honour, I present to you Dr. Reza.
Yeah, all right! Yes!
We've been working with Dr. Reza since the end of last year, and we're going to see him move to Melbourne, which we're all sad about because he's really been part of the Sydney team.
I'm very excited about it, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in Melbourne.
Cosmos's hyped recruit, Dr. Reza Mahdi, is a GP. In 2018, he trained overseas at the European College of Aesthetic Medicine and Surgery.
And then back to here, and then follow the curvature. Like what's the difference, for example, with the men? Because you mentioned
An organisation that teaches courses in facelifts and tummy tucks in as little as 15 hours. He used his training to dazzle patients and perform other risky surgeries, including the Brazilian butt lift, posting it all on social media.
Tight body, in about tight body, we can't inject too much fat. Otherwise, the fat can't survive, it's going to die.
You wouldn't know it from Cosmos's social media posts or TV appearances. But the Brazilian butt lift, or BBL, is considered so dangerous that many trained plastic surgeons, like Professor Mark Ashton, refuse to do them.
Brazilian butt lift is the most dangerous operation you can possibly consider undertaking. I don't think there's any plastic surgeon in Australia who would seriously consider doing Brazilian butt lifts, knowing what we know now about the risk.
I saw their Instagram page and they had lots and lots of photos from lots of different girls. I basically just couldn't find anywhere else other than Cosmos that had those results.
So they sounded like they were the perfect fit.
Yeah, they basically advertised and made everything seem like it was totally like the best decision you could make. Well, they want you to think that it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. You can just go in, get your surgery. Within 2 weeks, you'll be back to your normal life.
In March last year, 26-year-old Keisha Amoa booked in for a consultation with Dr. Reza.
And there was no frames on the wall with his qualifications on it like you would normally see in a doctor's office.
But that didn't set any alarm bells for you?
In hindsight, now, yes, of course. It sets off a lot of alarm bells, but at the time, I'm thinking to myself, he's a trained surgeon. There is no way in Australia that a person can perform surgery on somebody when they're not actually a plastic surgeon.
After a brief chat, Keisha signed up for liposuction and a fat transfer for a BBL.
My rib, I can't breathe properly.
This audio is the ambulance call she made in the clinic hours after waking up from surgery.
So they're organising. Stop me, I can't die. I have to see kids.
What unit number are you in?
It's called Cosmos Clinic.
Oh, Cosmos Clinic. Yep, okay, I can see that one there. Okay, so is there anyone else nearby you?
No, I just had a procedure. There could be something seriously wrong. I really need to get to the hospital.
I know, and that's why we've got all of that organised for you.
As soon as I woke up, I instantly knew that something was seriously wrong because I'd never felt pain like that before in my life. And I kept telling them from the beginning, I'm in pain, I need help, something's wrong. And it just felt like somebody had stabbed me. And I just could feel this burning pain inside my abdomen. And it just wouldn't stop. And it kept getting worse. And it got to the point where I just kept passing out, like throughout the time that I was in recovery because the pain was so bad. He was basically just telling me that I'm not handling the pain very well and it's all normal and, you know, it will stop and I need to calm down.
He was unaware that she was starting to bleed because he didn't have the surgical skills, he didn't have the surgical background, he didn't have the surgical training.
I practically begged them just to call an ambulance. And once I realised that they're not going to do it for me, I realised I had to do it for myself.
The medical staff there were oblivious to the fact that she was almost dying in front of their own eyes.
5 hours after waking up, Keisha finally reached the hospital.
The tests came back after a few hours saying that I had multiple liver lacerations to my liver. And there was a pocket of blood because there was internal bleeding. And that's the reason why I was in so much pain.
After she left the hospital on May 3, she went to see Dr. Reza, who admitted he'd stuffed up.
He basically said that, you know, he made a mistake and that he might have went too deep. And, you know, he mostly just apologised.
Days later, she followed up with head office in Sydney. making a detailed complaint.
It just seemed like they weren't really believing what I said about what happened, because on my end, I was the only one who was saying my side of the story.
Despite the warnings, Cosmos allowed Dr. Reza to continue operating on other unsuspecting patients for many months, like Sinead Mullally. In July, she had a BBL with Dr. Reza. After surgery, the results were nothing like she'd seen on Instagram.
I had a lot of build-up in the bottom of my abdomen, and also both of my buttocks was like a different size and had a different shape. There was like a flatness to one of my butt cheeks, like I had been pressed up against a wall. They didn't tell me that there might be a risk of both butt cheeks being of different sizes. And they also didn't tell me that I would be at risk of maybe some type of nerve damage, but I do have pain that shoots down my leg, and that has been consistent since I had my surgery with Dr. Reza. In my experience, they didn't even tell me about the risks.
When Sinead booked in for a follow-up appointment with Dr. Reza, she told him she felt misled.
It got to a point midway through our appointment where I actually thought we were going to have a physical altercation. Like, he started yelling at me, telling me that he'd been doing this for so long, that his technique was the best. I feel like he was practicing on my body and it didn't go accordingly, and he's just moved on to the next people.
See again, remember how I showed you the girl?
Feeling abandoned, Sinead connected online with other Cosmos patients, like Taylor.
I don't feel like I was cared about as a patient. I feel like I was just a dollar sign and in and out.
Taylor had a BBL with Dr. Reza in March last year. More than a year after surgery, she's still in agonising pain.
I have an egg-shaped rock, basically, in my right cheek that causes me daily pain, and it really just feels like someone's stabbing me. I've not been able to sit down comfortably since my surgery, which has been over 12 months ago. Ultimately, if it wasn't for their social media, I wouldn't have chosen a cosmetic surgeon.
Taylor and Sinead say they both complained to Cosmos's head office in Sydney. Taylor feels they didn't take her pain seriously enough.
I'm telling you, I'm in significant pain every day, and it's nearly been 12 months, and you're not following it up at all.
So it didn't get better once you started getting in contact with head office?
No, it just got worse.
After several emails, head office offered Sinead a refund, but there were strings attached.
I got an email from the general manager. In the attachment, it read that in order for me to get the refund, which they called a settlement, I would need to sign an NDA, and I haven't signed it. The NDA basically meant that I couldn't speak about them in any way moving forwards, that they weren't admitting that anything had been done wrong.
So they basically wanted to silence you?
Yes, yes. That's how I read it, absolutely.
Sadly, it's a common story for unhappy patients who try to speak up after surgeries at Cosmos Clinic.
I was just sick of people raving and saying, look how many followers, look how great they are, and that's why I left the Google review. But that, along with a few others, all were deleted.
When you look at its slick social media profile, it's obvious that at Cosmos Clinic, cameras are as essential as liposuction cannula. With clinics and day hospitals in 5 states, the fast-talking face of Cosmos is founder Dr. Joseph Ajaka.
Today, the latest in skin toning.
His skill at the big cell might impress some, but it horrifies others.
And we found that the laser helped to tighten the skin.
While he's talking to the camera, he's shoving a long, thin instrument that is about 18 inches long, backwards and forwards into the abdomen, and he's got no idea where the tip of that is at all.
In another Instagram post, Dr. Ajaka is filmed operating on a patient without wearing a mask. It's a practice plastic surgeon Professor Mark Ashton would never do.
Any surgical procedure requires the people performing that procedure to adhere to the basic principles of sterility. That includes wearing a mask. It means they either don't care or they haven't done sufficient training to know that it's important.
What is important to them is protecting their image by making sure no one says anything bad about them. Among the tens of thousands of online posts, it's almost impossible to find a negative review or comment about Cosmos Clinic. But that doesn't mean unhappy patients don't exist.
I just thought that's not fair. They don't get to just do that to me. They don't get to just destroy my life and think that they get away with it. It's not fair.
This patient has asked us to call her Rebecca. In July 2020, the 28-year-old community nurse booked in for liposuction and a Brazilian butt lift with Dr. Ajaka and another Cosmos doctor. After surgery, she saw her results.
When you get lipo, it's because you want it to be flat. That's why you get lipo to your abdomen, so it's more defined. It's a more defined abdomen. I had what looked like rolled out Play-Doh in a snake bulging out of my abdomen like a flap. There's not one area that he touched that looks better than it was before, especially my abdomen. My abdomen it's not just not good, it's abnormal.
Did Dr. Ajaka seem shocked when he saw it?
When he first saw it, he didn't exactly react. You know, he touched it, he pulled at it, he tugged at it, but he didn't seem surprised. But he did advise me that this was the first time that this had ever happened to any of his patients.
How did that make you feel?
Well, not special, that's for sure.
Did he ever admit that he had caused this?
No, he just said, it's your thin skin. You know, we could never have predicted this. It was just your thin skin. And I just said, that's not possible. It's not possible for skin to be the way my skin is.
After revision surgery with Dr. Ajaka and another doctor failed in September, Rebecca posted about it on a private Instagram account.
So I created a page where, you know, I took videos of, you know, what it was like first day home, what you wear, what, you know, you had to wrap things around you because you were leaking. And so I recorded all of that. And then I stopped posting on my Instagram page.
Why did you stop?
Because I received a letter from their lawyer threatening to sue me for defamation. And I didn't know what to do. I had to, you know, seek my own legal advice because I didn't know what would happen after that. It was just a letter to scare me off, you know, to try and make me disappear, really.
It didn't work. Outraged, she decided to sue her doctors at Cosmos Clinic.
I just thought, I'm not going to be like that. It's not fair. There's no reason why I deserve to live with what he's given me. I'm outraged that they think that I'm just another person they can just shove under the rug and forget about.
The legal action is ongoing. And as each week drags on, Rebecca's trauma continues to grow.
I'm still in pain today. I'm in pain 24/7.
What sort of pain?
My abdomen, it's a continual numbness. And it just feels like there's pins all the time pricking me across my entire abdomen. I occasionally get burning feeling, like a burning sensation. It's destroyed my life. If it wasn't for my family, I would be homeless. Sorry.
Just take a minute.
I think I need it. I physically cannot work full time. It is too exhausting. And my pay literally just covers just normal, day-to-day expenses. It doesn't cover any of my house bills. It doesn't cover any of my rent. That's how bad it is.
It's smoke and mirrors. It's all an illusion. And as a consumer, you can't tell. You just have no idea what's real and what's not.
Social media is the shop front of the cosmetic surgery industry. And what we're finding is that the doctors who perform cosmetic surgery are actually making the patients the mannequins in the window. And the goal is to get more people in those shop fronts to advertise more services and get more patients in the door.
Madison Johnston and Michael Fraser were so concerned about the way the cosmetic surgery industry manipulates patients.
That's like a dangerous procedure and he's laughing about it.
They started tracking the social media content.
Because there's so much content that surgeons put out there, we had to find a way to sort of look at all that data and see what kind of problems existed. For example, with the expiring posts, where they are putting more risque posts in the expiring content, but also to be able to look at patterns of a particular set of doctors, for example, over a period of a month and see what kind of conduct happens on a day-to-day basis.
They've developed software to capture everything that's posted on the Instagram and TikTok accounts of Australia's leading cosmetic surgeons. Tens of thousands of videos and photos going back more than 8 years.
I think it's something that regulators should be using or something similar to that, because it will give them oversight should the public or a member of the public complain about their surgery or the conduct of a doctor. They can actually go back and see everything that happened within a time frame, including the expiring content.
It's not just misleading. In many cases, the content posted by cosmetic surgeons is breaching the rules, failing to tell patients about the risks.
What we're seeing is multiple breaches every other day, essentially. Things like inaccurate before and after photos, using testimonials, that's against the national law. There's this big theme that surgery is, for cosmetic reasons, it's no big deal. It's walk in, walk out, almost giving you the impression that it's the same day, which is obviously not the case.
The patients were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of Sports Illustrated bums danced in their heads. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread.
I think social media, it makes it look so glamorous. Like, it makes it seem you're going to walk out like a Kardashian, and you're not. You're in a lot of pain. You're bleeding everywhere for days, and you're a mess. And yeah, there might be a few people that did turn out good, like looking great and good, I'm glad. But that's unfortunately not for everyone.
Why do you think it is so hard to find stories like yours on social media?
People are just scared because these people are so powerful. They have so much money. They have so many resources. Yeah, just the tiniest bit.
In 2018, social media influencer Rosie Terry signed up with Cosmos to promote its Brazilian butt lift surgery.
Hey guys, I'm live with Cosmos Clinic today at 12, running a little bit late, but I'm excited.
I did promote them. I think we collabed on the live and I was meant to get fillers or Botox, but then what happened was my surgeries came first and they were so bad I never went back for fillers or Botox, ever. That would make me a hypocrite.
From influencer to patient, Rosie had a Brazilian butt lift at Cosmos in September 2018. Unhappy with the results, she posted a 1-star review on Google.
Hey guys, you're probably like, why is she posting about them all of a sudden?
Later, she shared her experience with her followers on Instagram.
I promoted for them. They offered me free fillers for promotion. I said, I will never let you touch me again after what you did to my body, a 23-year-old girl.
Days after the post, the founder of Cosmos, Dr. Joseph Ajaka, filed a defamation claim in the federal court. But that only made Rosie more determined. So what made you fight the legal threats?
I think I just got to the point, like, what can they take from me? What can they do to me? I just wasn't ready to let them get away with it still.
The legal claim has been dropped, but Rosie is refusing to stay silent.
I feel like the more me or anyone else speaks up, it's going to bring a lot more awareness and people are going to speak up a lot more because it's not fair.
As more and more brave patients speak out, the holes in our health system are plain to see.
It's worse than the Wild West.
To my mind, that is something that we should be looking at criminalising.
Far from the city, amongst her horses, Kathy Hubble feels she can finally relax, even if only for a moment.
I've now moved to the country where life is so much less stressful. I have to be in a low stress environment where I can be with my animals and my horses and my partner.
After cosmetic surgery with Dr. Ryan Wells and his then boss, the scandal-plagued Dr. Daniel Lanza, she was left with lifelong scars.
I've now got chronic pain in my abdomen and it's like thousands of red ants biting under the skin.
Dr. Wells tried to distance himself from Daniel Lanza. And in November last year, he and his nurses posed for photos as they scraped Lanza's name from the clinic's window. Last month, he rebranded the business. But for patients like Kathy Hubble, this is nothing more than slick marketing. How important is it for you to speak up about Dr. Wells?
Dr. Wells has actually now distanced himself from Dr. Lanza, and yet he is probably the worst culprit in the procedure that was done on me, and he is still practicing. This person is barbaric. He needs to be stopped.
Welcome to the Game of the Week. Today we're going to talk about how we can create...
Just like Dr. Wells, Cosmos Clinic's Dr. Reza Ahmadi was a prolific user of social media, sharing before and after surgery photos on expiring Instagram stories. But many of the posts forgot to mention the risks.
Regulation of the cosmetic surgery industry is almost non-existent. It's just full of holes. And for patients, they are not safe.
So who's going to protect you?
No one. Basically, it's buyer beware, you're on your own.
Did you do this procedure inside a registered healthcare facility?
Dr. Margaret Foe is a lawyer and expert on Australia's complex healthcare system.
One of the areas that needs close scrutiny and attention, in my opinion, is this practice of paying influencers and or giving them free cosmetic surgery so that they promote that surgery because they are influencers. To my mind, that is something that we should be looking at criminalising.
In January this year, Dr. Reza's details disappeared from the Cosmos website.
Welcome to the Game of the Week.
And his social media appeared to be professionally wiped from the internet. Keisha Amoa and other patients were never told where he'd gone or why.
They basically wouldn't tell me much because I assume that they can't. But I'm definitely not the only person that this has happened to, and I'm definitely not going to be the last.
When Dr. Reza operated on Keisha, it was a disaster.
So we're doing really well. Everything's really settling down well. We've got a little bit of fluid here, just a smidgen.
Last December, she booked in with leading plastic surgeon, Professor Mark Ashton, to fix her scarred body. And today, she's meeting him for a checkup following revision surgery to remove painful scar tissue.
And when we looked and found out where that scar tissue was, what we found is it was just, as you can see here, just a dense block of very thick scar tissue.
This is the amount of scar tissue removed from Keisha's abdomen, caused by liposuction by Dr. Reza. So is that almost the size of a palm?
About the size of the palm of your hand. I've never seen it before.
The medical report from the hospital says Keisha's liver was lacerated multiple times from liposuction.
With Keisha, what happened was he went too deep because he was unaware as where that cannula was positioned. He was unaware he was too deep, and he started liposucking Keisha's liver. It's worse than the Wild West. The Wild West, at least you knew you were going into an environment which was dangerous.
We meet again, Dr. Reza.
Professor Ashton says after seeing Keisha in December last year, he had a mandatory obligation to report Dr. Reza to the National Health Regulator, AHPRA. Early last month, it banned Dr. Reza from all cosmetic surgery, but allowed him to work as a GP. But that's not enough for Dr. Foe. If the conditions on Dr. Reza aren't appropriate, what is appropriate?
I would think suspend his registration. Perhaps not indefinitely, but suspend his registration. I'm not seeing that they even really understand the magnitude of what they're dealing with.
We tracked down Dr. Reza to this no-frills GP clinic on the outskirts of Melbourne. Until conditions were placed on him, the clinic was offering cosmetic appointments with the now-fallen doctor. We approached the founder of Cosmos, Dr. Joseph Ajaka, for comment in the days before this story was originally due to be broadcast back in May. However, Dr. Ajaka rushed off to court to stop the show.
Abigail Boyd.
It was an action that outraged New South Wales MP Abigail Boyd.
Last Friday, 13th of May, the New South Wales Supreme Court issued an extraordinary order granting Double Bay cosmetic surgeon Dr. Joseph Ajaka of Cosmos Clinics access to draft pre-publication copies of an upcoming 60 Minutes episode. This court order is unprecedented.
Around the same time, Cosmos was busy deleting more than 100 posts from its social media accounts. But we've got them all. The Batman videos and dancing in the operating theatre are now gone. So too has the Putin horror show. Other, more risque posts have also been wiped from their accounts.
Trick or treat, our gorgeous client of Cosmos is definitely looking like a treat.
As has the video of Dr. Ajaka performing liposuction while looking at the camera instead of the patient.
Who is this Joseph Ajaka who has the means and the incentives to attack so aggressively one of the pillars of our democracy in the defence of his private financial and reputational interests? What guilty conscience has now prompted this defensive posture? Ajaka may have a lot to lose if he can't control what is said about him, but we all have a lot more to lose if journalists are prevented from speaking truth to power.
Hello, I'm Tara Brown. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our extra minutes, segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.